The river was bright with midday sunlight, glittering like broken glass, when the scream tore through the calm air. In a matter of seconds, a sleek black car stood abandoned on the bridge, its door open, its owner struggling against the violent current below. Arman Qureshi did not think about consequences, about the stack of unpaid bills waiting at home, or about the small hand that held his every night before sleep. He only saw a life slipping away. And before anyone else could react, the single father had already leapt into the cold, unforgiving river. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3. Your support keeps stories like this alive and spreading hope. Arman had always been the kind of man who carried the world quietly on his shoulders. After losing his wife 3 years ago, he became both father and mother to his 6-year-old son, Xavier. Mornings were a blur, packing lunches, tying shoelaces, and rushing to his modest mechanic job by the roadside. That afternoon he had taken a rare break, sitting near the riverbank during his lunch hour, watching the water shimmer under the bright sun. He liked the river because it reminded him that even after storms, water kept moving forward. When he saw the woman lose her footing near the bridge railing and fall into the current, instinct overpowered exhaustion. The water was colder than he expected, biting into his skin, pulling at his clothes. The woman thrashed in panic, her designer suit dragging her down. Arman fought against the current, each stroke fueled by a fierce determination that surprised even him. He reached her just as her strength began to fail, gripping her arm firmly and turning her toward the shore. It felt like an eternity before his feet touched solid ground again. By the time they collapsed onto the riverbank, both gasping for air, a small crowd had gathered. The woman, Zara Mikhail, was recognized almost instantly. She was the powerful CEO of a rising tech empire, a name that appeared regularly in business headlines. Her presence near the river had been part of a promotional photo shoot for a new environmental campaign. None of that mattered in that moment. She was drenched, shivering, stripped of the aura of control that defined her public image. Paramedics arrived quickly, but Zara refused to leave without first looking at the man who had pulled her from certain death. Her eyes held a vulnerability rarely seen in someone accustomed to boardrooms and flashing cameras. As the crowd dispersed and the ambulance doors remained open, she asked Arman in a trembling voice if he would stay while she removed her soaked jacket and heels to prevent hypothermia. It was not a seductive request. It was a fragile plea from someone shaken to her core, afraid of being left alone after confronting mortality so closely. Arman turned his gaze respectfully toward the river, giving her privacy while standing guard against curious onlookers. He understood vulnerability. He had lived with it every day since his wife's passing. The weight of raising a child alone, the quiet fear of failing, the loneliness that crept in at night, those were forms of undressing too, stripping away pride and exposing raw humanity. When Zara finished, she wrapped herself in a blanket provided by the paramedics, but she did not ask him to leave. In the days that followed, Arman assumed life would return to normal. He went back to fixing engines under the relentless sun, his hands stained with grease. Yet normal shifted unexpectedly. Zara's assistant arrived at his workshop with an invitation to visit her corporate office. Arman hesitated. He owned only 2 decent shirts, and neither belonged in glass towers that reflected the sky. But curiosity and necessity pushed him forward. The headquarters felt like another universe, marble floors, silent elevators, walls of glass overlooking the city. Zara met him not as a CEO towering above an employee, but as a woman who had glimpsed her own fragility. She thanked him publicly, offering a financial reward that could ease his burdens. Arman declined the money at first, pride tightening his chest. He had not jumped into the river for recognition or wealth. He had done it because it was right. Zara saw something in that refusal that moved her more deeply than the rescue itself. She learned about Xavier, about the late nights helping with homework, about the struggle to balance shifts and parent-teacher meetings. Instead of offering a simple reward, she proposed an opportunity. Her company sponsored community training programs, and she suggested funding Arman's certification in advanced mechanical engineering, allowing him to move beyond roadside repairs into stable, higher-paying work. Arman wrestled with doubt. Change felt risky. What if he failed? What if he embarrassed himself in classrooms filled with younger, more educated students? But each time he remembered the river, he remembered how fear could paralyze, or it could be faced. He enrolled. Months passed in a blur of early mornings and late-night studying. Xavier would fall asleep at the small kitchen table while Arman revised lessons beside him. Some days exhaustion threatened to break him, yet Zara's quiet encouragement and his son's unwavering belief carried him forward. The man who once fixed engines by instinct began understanding the science behind them. His confidence grew steadily, like the rising sun after dawn. Zara visited occasionally, not with cameras or publicity teams, but alone. She found solace in Arman's modest home, where laughter replaced corporate tension. Being near him reminded her that success without compassion felt hollow. The question she had asked on the riverbank lingered in her mind, not about removing wet clothes, but about whether someone would stay when she was stripped of status and certainty. Arman had stayed. One bright afternoon, nearly a year after the rescue, Arman received his certification. The ceremony took place in daylight, sunlight pouring through wide windows, just as it had on the day of the river incident. Xavier clapped the loudest, his small face glowing with pride. Zara stood in the audience, not as a CEO evaluating performance, but as a friend witnessing growth. Before we reach the end, here is a special request. Comment below and tell us about a moment when someone's kindness changed your life. As Arman stepped outside the hall, diploma in hand, he realized the river had not only tested his strength, it had redirected his path. Zara approached him with gratitude still shining in her eyes. Their lives had intertwined not because of wealth or status, but because of courage and compassion meeting at the right moment. He had saved her from drowning, and she had helped him rise. If this story touched your heart, please engage with the video, like it, share it with someone who needs hope, and let your voice be heard in the comments. Your interaction helps stories of kindness travel further than we ever imagined. Under the clear afternoon sky, Arman held his son's hand and looked toward the future with a steadiness he had not felt in years. Zara stood beside them, no longer afraid of being seen without her armor of success. Sometimes, staying when someone is vulnerable is the greatest gift of all. And on a sunlit day by a restless river, two lives prove that compassion can change destinies forever.